The disability I was experiencing was one-arm person, and once I opened the door, I started with unpacking things from my bag, and the first thing was my laptop, and evidently I was trying too hard to open my laptop, which was so it started off with me wearing the jacket since it was cold outside, and initially I faced quite a bit of problem in sense of the time and the frustration. I had this jacket is normally assigned with 2 arms, and the other arm was not getting around, and took me quite a while. Eventually I managed, and we started going back. We had a short assignment of tying my laces back, and having tied these laces for many a times before, I did not expect it to be a failure. I thought of reading a newspaper, having a single arm. I just thought of flipping pages would be a little problematic, considering I would have to take the support of the table.
So my disability was dyslexia. Basically, we simulated this by having a document that had some of the words were jumbled up with different letters, and all of the D's were replaced with B's. The individual who has dyslexia tries to hide it or mask it from society. They are afraid of what might happen to their social, and there were many words that I actually got wrong, which left me frustrated and confused, and it made it hard to continue reading in front of even peers.
So for my disability experience, what James ended up concocting for me was to do a Photoshop tutorial that I would read, while at the same time listening to a separate tutorial going on in my ear at the same time. Now the tutorial itself was really something very basic. It was it was a cut, paste, blend thing that got distracted if James would try to talk to me while this was going on, and I'm trying to focus on what I'm reading and hearing this the other tutorial in my ear. Varun talks to me, I get an instant message. When I went back to the tutorial, like, it actually cognitively took me a very long time to process, where I was, and I ended up doing the same thing over and over and over again.
The topic that we decided to tackle was the solar system. And we envision our concept as a small portion of a larger exhibit that seeks to answer the question, why is Pluto not a planet? While attempting to narrow this down, we realize that in order to understand the answer to this question, one must understand many things about the origin and structure of the solar system. These include the elemental makeup of the planets, solar wind, the distances and orbits of the planets, the sizes of planets, and all the celestial objects in the solar system for that matter. We took this as our big picture view and decided to divide these pieces up into several separate experiential exhibits. Our concept is an example of what one of these might be. We brainstormed several concepts of how we could accomplish this, eventually deciding on having a long hallway where museum goers can take a journey through the solar system. On this journey, museum goers will be able to experience a mixture of different sensory and perceptual inputs that together help them feel the structure of the solar system. For our exhibit, we wanted to focus on helping museum goers understand the relative distances of the planets from the Sun and between each other. With such massive distances, we felt that it's not enough to just see or hear them, but to feel them. The challenge for us became, how can we make someone feel the structure of the solar system? You begin the experience with a brief introduction to the concept of astronomical units, which is the standard unit of measurement for the solar system. Your journey starts at the Sun, where it's very bright and very warm. You make your way from the Sun to Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, walking between each one, with the hallway gradually becoming a little darker and cooler as you go. It takes very few steps to travel between the first 4 planets, since the relative distances of them aren't all that different. However, after leaving Mars behind and traveling on towards Jupiter, the relative ratios of distance become more important. Walking down the hallway towards Jupiter takes much longer than the previous distances and requires several moments of walking and substantially more steps. At this point, the hallway again is becoming darker and noticeably colder. You travel next to Saturn, walking even further into the darkness, again taking even more time to travel to it. The experience is repeated over again for Uranus and Neptune, each time the experience being reinforced with cooler air, less light, and more distance to walk. At the time you reach Pluto at the end of the hallway, the Sun has become a distant light source, the hallway is cold and dark, and you've traveled a very substantial distance since the beginning of the experience. We have Banaibi do a walkthrough of the prototype and provide feedback.
Okay, so
We're going to do experience, prototype, and so basically the whole thing's solar system. AU, astronomical units, and Mercury. So Mercury is actually 0.4 AU.
Okay.
Okay. So we take a little short hop run over here. We're at Venus. Venus is 0.7 AU.
Okay.
Okay. And then as we move past it, we end up at Earth. Can you guess how many AU Earth is?
1.
Exactly. All right, we understand AU. So we go another half an AU and we end up at Mars.
Okay.
Notice it's getting a little darker,
Yeah.
a little cooler.
Yeah.
So we're at 1.5. Okay, now we're going to take the jump out to Jupiter. We actually have to go 5 AU actually. 5 AU.
Okay.
So we're going to hop to the next planet, Saturn. Now we actually have to make the next jump is going to be 20 AU.
Okay.
Now we're at Uranus. Very dark. It's hard to see it. Now the next one, we're actually going to have to go to 30 AU. We're at 20 now. We're going to have to go to 30 to get to the last planet, which is Neptune. So are you ready? You ready for this trip?
Always ready.
Okay. So this is at the end of the planets, which actually Pluto is considered a dwarf planet. I think that's the title it is. It's actually 400 AU. We'd have to go a whole other 10 AU to actually find it.
I like the sensory feeling of the whole fact that I'm losing the sun. It's getting colder. It's getting darker, and I like that. Here is very much of a sensory, getting the feel of how big the universe is.